Some help doesn't arrive like a rescue. It arrives like a receipt. This is Whisper Loop. If you want more stories where the bargain is worse than the curse, tap like, subscribe, and comment the one thing you would never trade, even if it meant getting your life back. Because that's what this story asks. We used to measure our weeks in test results. Green numbers meant hope. Red numbers meant the kind of silence you can't fill with reassurance. My partner Mina was 31 when the diagnosis landed. The doctor's words were tidy, practiced, softened by years of having to say something that ruins people. We tried everything the way desperate people do. Treatments, diets, supplements, long nights staring at the ceiling pretending we were resting. For a while, Mina kept working, because stopping felt like surrender. I worked from home, so I became the scheduler, the driver, the soup maker, the person who pretended my hands weren't shaking when I poured water. When the second plan failed, we stopped talking about when this is over. We started talking about what next. A friend mentioned a practitioner, someone with a reputation that traveled through whispers more than recommendations. He doesn't promise miracles, my friend said. He promises clarity. Clarity sounded like air. We met him in a rented office above a row of shuttered shops. He wasn't dramatic. No robes, no fog machine incense. Just a thin man with tired eyes and hands that looked too light for his wrists. He listened to Mina speak, asked her date of birth, asked for our address, and then paused as if someone else had spoken in the room. He looked at me. "There are visitors," he said. I almost laughed. Then he added, "Not the kind that knock." He didn't say ghost. He didn't say curse. He said visitors, like we were a place, like our home was already on someone's route. He slid a small object across the table. It was ordinary, something you could buy in a temple market and never think about again. "Put this at her bedside," he said, "with this paper beneath it." He kept the paper turned face down. I didn't ask to see it. That was my third mistake. That night I placed the object where he told me. Mina looked at it, skeptical, then too exhausted to argue. She slept, not the shallow, anxious half-sleep she'd been surviving on. Real sleep, 8 uninterrupted hours. When she woke, her eyes were clearer. "I didn't dream," she said, astonished. "Not even once." We celebrated quietly, like the sound might break it. For a week she slept. For a week she stopped waking with that clenched expression, like her mind had been running while her body tried to rest. And then, because the universe hates being impressed, the dreams returned, but the dream had changed. Mina sat up in bed one morning, hands pressed to her temples. "It's a woman now," she said. "What woman?" "In my dream," she whispered. "She doesn't talk. Takes me places." "Places like where?" Mina's eyes unfocused, tracking a memory. "A riverside," she said. "A field, a parking lot at night. She sits beside me like we're waiting for someone." "Do you recognize her?" She shook her head, then hesitated. "It feels like I should," she admitted. The practitioner had a rule for this. When we visited again, he nodded, unsurprised. "Ask her name," he said. "If she gives you a full name, it opens things. If she refuses, you stop asking." "Why?" I asked. He looked at me like I'd asked why fire burns. "Because some things don't want to be named," he said. That night Mina dreamed. In the morning she told me, voice small. I asked, she said, "And?" She said, "Madam Chen." My stomach tightened. "Not her full name," I said. Mina nodded. She smiled, like she was being polite. The practitioner's face hardened. "That means she has a reason to hide," he said, "and she has the patience to be polite." He asked for our address again, as if confirming the spelling. "I'll send watchers tonight," he said. I flinched at the word. "Watchers?" He didn't explain. He just said, "Do not be home when the sun goes down. Take her somewhere else." "What, why?" "Because if Madam Chen comes looking," he said quietly, "she will check the house first." Mina was too weak for arguments, so we packed a small bag and went to my apartment across town. That night I didn't sleep, not because I expected an apparition at my door, because I kept imagining our empty place, the hallway, the lock, the dark rooms holding their breath. At 2:17 a.m. my phone vibrated. A message from the practitioner. They found a man. I stared at the screen. "A man?" I typed back. The reply came slowly, as if sent through thick air. "A man who wants the man of the house. He says he is tired, but he cannot leave." Then another line. "He is held by his wife." My throat went dry. I read the message twice and still didn't understand. In the morning, we returned to the practitioner. He looked worse than before, paler, as if each day cost him something. He explained in a voice that tried to stay neutral. There is a husband spirit, he said, and there is another presence. The woman you see in dreams is not in the house as a simple ghost. She comes and goes. She signs in. Signs in, I repeated. He tapped his own chest lightly, where a heartbeat would be. Some things keep records, he said. Mina shifted in her chair, discomfort sharpening her features. And me, she asked. He studied her for a long moment. In their eyes, he said carefully, you do not look like a healthy living person. That sentence dropped like a weight. Mina gripped the chair arms. I wanted to stand up and flip the table and demand a better answer. Instead I asked, what do we do? He opened a drawer and removed a pendant. Jade, shaped like a small blade. He placed it in my palm. It felt heavier than it should. She wears this, he said, every day. Until the turning point. The turning point? The day the year flips its shadow, he said, when the night begins to shorten. He didn't name the date. He didn't have to. I grew up with grandparents who treated certain days like thin ice. He leaned closer. And you, he said, do not let her sleep alone. I swallowed. What if the woman comes? His expression softened by a millimeter. Then she will notice you, he said, and she will behave. Why? Because witnesses change the math, he said. I didn't understand the math. I understood only the fear. For 2 nights, I watched Mina sleep. I sat in a chair by the bed with my laptop open, pretending to work, pretending my attention wasn't hooked to every tiny sound. Nothing happened. No nightmares, no cold spots, no shadows bending wrong. On the 3rd morning, I rode the elevator down to buy breakfast. Halfway to the lobby, the elevator lights flickered. Not a normal flicker, a pulse, like someone had exhaled into the wiring. The air inside turned sharp and cold, so sudden my teeth ached. My breath fogged. I stared at the metal doors, waiting for them to open. When they did, the lobby felt warm again, as if the cold had been contained, as if it belonged to the small space I had been trapped inside. I returned with food and found Mina sitting up, eyes wide. She came, Mina whispered. My grip tightened on the paper bag. Madam Chen? Mina nodded. She stood by the window, not inside, like she didn't want to enter. What did she do? She looked at the pendant, Mina said, and then she smiled the polite smile again, and I heard, she stopped, shaking. What? I heard pages turning, she whispered. The turning point came. We returned the pendant to the practitioner as instructed. He closed his eyes and murmured something under his breath. His shoulders sagged, as if he'd been holding up a ceiling. It is done, he said. What is? The husband and wife, he replied. They have been moved on. Mina exhaled like her body had been waiting weeks for permission. On the way home, we almost laughed in relief. We were already planning to visit Mina's parents, to tell them the nightmares had ended. That's when we noticed something. Mina's father, who always moved like a man who knew where his body was in space, had his wrist wrapped. He claimed it was a fall. He said it lightly, too lightly. Over the next week, he began winning small lotteries. Again and again, he became loud with it, bragging to relatives, flashing tickets like they were medals. It should have been funny. Instead, it made my skin crawl, because Mina's strength began to slip again, not suddenly, quietly, like a phone battery draining, even when you swear you closed every app. She began waking tired. Then she began dreaming again, this time not of a woman guiding her somewhere peaceful, but of work, endless work, lifting, scrubbing, sorting, always alone. She woke one morning with her arms trembling. I'm so tired, she whispered. It's like someone keeps borrowing me. That night, while Mina slept, I searched her childhood room at her parents' house. I told myself I was being paranoid. Paranoia is just fear with a flashlight. In the back of a wardrobe, above old blankets, I found a white envelope, plain, unmarked. Inside were things that didn't belong together. A folded paper with Mina's birth details, a small snip of hair, clippings, and an earring Mina had lost years ago. My stomach turned. I didn't need the practitioner to tell me what it meant. Someone had made a package, a personal package, a way to point at Mina without touching her. I took the envelope and drove straight to the practitioner. When I set it on his table, his face went tight. He didn't open it. He didn't have to. Family, he said. I swallowed. Her father? He nodded once. He knows, the practitioner said softly. He has always known. When the debt came for him, he moved it sideways. Sideways? The practitioner tapped the envelope. Into his child, he said. My vision narrowed. I remembered Mina telling me, in a hospital bed, a detail she'd never shared. As a baby, she'd been left outside during a storm, then brought back as if nothing happened. At the time, it sounded like an awful family story. Now it sounded like a ritual, a way to loosen the bond, a way to make a daughter usable. The practitioner drew a slow breath. "There are rules now," he said. "What rules?" He met my eyes. "Do not let her return to that house," he said. "Do not bring her clothes from there. Do not bring her bed pillow. Nothing that has absorbed her sleep." I stared at him. "And the man who calls himself her father?" I asked. The practitioner's voice went quiet. "He has made agreements," he said, "and agreements require payment." "Payment like what?" He didn't answer directly. He opened a drawer and pulled out 2 cords, one red, one yellow, with small metal plates at their ends. "Red for her," he said. "It ties her to my altar. If something tries to take her breath, I will feel it. Yellow for you," he said. "It turns the air around you warmer. It makes you less easy to pass through." I didn't understand, but I tied the yellow cord around my wrist anyway. Then he said something I'll never forget. "My watchers went to your place again," he said. "They did not return." My mouth went dry. "They were eaten," he added, as if reporting weather. I stood up so fast my chair scraped. "What are we dealing with?" I demanded. He flinched, then steadied. "Not a ghost," he said, "not a simple curse. This is a system, a ledger." He gestured at the white envelope. "This is the signature," he said. "It tells the ledger who to charge." We moved Mina into my apartment permanently. She came with nothing but her phone and a small bag of medications. Her father called. He pleaded. He blamed me. He promised dinner. Mina, weak but lucid, refused. For the first time in months, she looked angry. Anger, I learned, is sometimes the body's way of insisting it still belongs to itself. The practitioner set up a temporary altar in a parking lot across from Mina's parents' building. He arrived in an SUV with the rear hatch open. The inside glowed faintly red, like a sunset trapped in fabric. Wind wasn't forecast that night, but as the clock tipped past midnight, and he began murmuring words that didn't sound like any language I knew, a gust rose. Not a natural gust, a directed one. It pushed from our backs toward the building. I watched the windows. One of them lit up, a curtain shifted. A silhouette appeared, Mina's father, peering out as if he'd heard his name spoken too loudly. He scanned the parking lot. Then, for a second, his gaze settled on our SUV. My breath caught. The practitioner's voice didn't change. The wind surged once more. The window slammed shut. The light went out. The practitioner exhaled, shaking. "It's broken," he said. "The shield is broken." I wanted to ask what shield. I wanted to ask what else lived inside that house. But Mina's breathing, steady for the first time in weeks, was answer enough. Over the next few days, Mina improved, not magically, not instantly, but in a way that felt like someone had stopped siphoning her. Her father, however, unraveled. He stopped winning. He started pacing. He began leaving the house at the same 2 hours every day, before sunrise and after full dark, regardless of weather, as if he had appointments, as if something expected him. I never followed him. I didn't need to, because one night Mina woke up, sat upright, and stared at the corner of my bedroom. Her eyes tracked something I couldn't see. Then she whispered, very calmly, "He's trying to sign my name again." The air felt heavier. My yellow cord warmed against my wrist, faint as a pulse. I sat beside her, not daring to blink for too long, and in the quiet I heard it. Not footsteps, not a voice, the softest sound of paper moving, a page turning, like a ledger being updated. And somewhere, just beyond hearing, something patient waited for me to look away. If you're still here, still listening, still breathing your own breath, leave a comment. Tell me the one thing you refuse to sign away. And if you want more stories like this, stories where the horror is quiet, bureaucratic, and hungry, like and subscribe to Whisperloop, because the scariest deals aren't made in dark alleys, they're made at dinner tables.